Hey everybody, in this video we're going to be talking about how to play great rhythms in your guitar solos that you're improvising. So let's get started. We're going to be using actually a drum track for this video. And the reason is because if you practice with a drum track, this is the best way to practice your rhythm in my opinion, because you can practice literally any chord progression you want. It doesn't matter. You don't need to go find a whole specific backing track for the song you're playing or the key that you're working on. Just practice over a drum track because we're focusing on rhythms. So let's start the track. The first rhythm that we need to be able to play really well before we can play any other rhythm is going to be quarter notes. Always. If you can't play quarter notes, forget about it. So in this case, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So just start off with one note and just play that rhythm. Should be nice and relaxed and locked in. So those are long quarter notes. You can also do short quarter notes and combinations thereof. Now, once you got that comfortable with one note, start adding other notes. I'm just going to use the typical minor pentatonic scale that everyone knows. I want to keep it simple. Focus on the rhythm, not the notes. You can also slide with quarter notes. When you're super comfortable with quarter notes, you should also practice putting in some rests. So I was just playing a solid stream of quarter notes there, but let's leave some space. So it's super simple, but it sounds good. It's in time, it's got right notes, and it's got some variation with the space. Actually, a lot of parts that you hear in a lot of songs are going to be not too different than that. It's just going to be quarter notes and, fitting with the harmony. So now you got quarter notes. We got to start getting some eighth notes in there. So that's our subdivision in this track that sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Typically on guitar, we're going to use a down up picking pattern for this. Let me move my right hand a little bit more in the picture. We use a down up. So down up, down up, down up, down up, down up, down up. And that's going along with the ands. So all the ands have an upstroke. All the numbers have a downstroke. So check it out. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So you want to try to stick to that picking scheme even when you're leaving space, because, well, it's going to help us to kind of keep ourselves in the groove more. It keeps our hand moving more. So even if I decide to leave some space, I'm still going to keep my hand moving. So you see how my hand's always just kind of moving with the beat the whole time. This is super important no matter what rhythm you're trying to play, but especially with eighth notes. You gotta pay super close attention to that. So now, of course, that was with one note. You gotta be able to get it down with one note, or else it's gonna be really hard with multiple notes. Now that you're comfortable with that, try it with your whole entire, pentatonic scale. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, one other thing before we move on from eighth notes is you want to start your phrases on those upbeats. That's a real pro tip right there. Lots of people don't do that. They always start on 1. They start 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and they don't start a lot on the upbeats. They're always starting on the downbeats. So listen to what it sounds like if I try to start on the upbeats. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. Try to feel the upbeat. It's hard counting at the same time as doing this. Now, your best results is going to come when you're having a healthy balance of starting on upbeats and starting on downbeats. That's when you start becoming, unpredictable with your rhythms, and it keeps interest going. So try that. I'm just going to mix up starting on upbeats or on downbeats. Try to count along. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And of course, you can also mix in quarter notes. All the previous rhythms we covered, mix those in too. So eighth notes and quarter notes. There's your quarter notes. Try some slides into notes, really quick slides or really quick hammer-ons. So now that we covered eighth notes and quarter notes, our kind of fastest rhythm we're going to deal with today is going to be 16th notes. The way we count those is like this. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. So there's a lot of different combinations of 16th notes that we can do, but let's just start off with just playing normal. Now we're going to do the same thing with the eighth notes. We're going to use alternate picking. Down, up, 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 down, up. It's kind of hard saying down, up that fast, but you get it. Check it out. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. This should feel easy. A lot of times I like to include that in my warm-up, just with one note. Got to make sure it feels easy. Even for me, sometimes when I start playing, I get some unnecessary tension in there. So then, of course, once you got that down, start playing with some different notes. Doubling up with notes, doubling up each pitch rather with 16th notes is also super duper cool. So that actually might be getting really hard at this point because that's starting to get relatively fast for most people. This is actually at 80 beats per minute. So 16th notes at 80 beats per minute is kind of like eighth notes at 160 beats per minute. Now, you also want to figure out all the different combinations of 16th notes that we can play. Now, I have a PDF called The Ultimate Rhythm Exercise. Check down below for a link to that, or you can ask me via message. But let me just give you a couple examples just by ear of some different combinations we can do with 16th notes. So we can go 1 E and 1 E and 1 E and and the picking for that is down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down. So that right there is a super cool rhythm. Love that rhythm. And if you start changing the notes, can come up with a lot of cool stuff if you start changing between the different notes and changing how often you switch the notes. Let's try another one. Let's try a 2/16 notes per beat type of pattern. So let's say 1 E-N, E-N. So 1 E-N, 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 1 E-N to 2 E-N to 1 E-N, 1 E-N, E-N, E-N. This is a really cool rhythm. This one starts on the E. So if you start on either the E or that's also going to make it sound really, really cool, really interesting, like starting on the upbeats with the eighth notes does. And then, of course, just taking different little cells like that. I call them rhythm cells. Let's try one more. So we can actually do a similar one to what we just did, but we'll start and go E and up, E and up, E and up, E and up, like this. And the picking pattern of that, it still sticks to that scheme. So it's up, down, up, 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 up, down, up. So obviously, try this with one note first. Right? All these different rhythms, you got to be able to play them with one note. Or else, how are you going to play them with more notes? It's going to be more confusing, right? We got to do the less confusing thing first before we try to do the more confusing thing. So once you become comfortable with some different 16th note rhythm cells, you should be comfortable with all of them, actually. Then start to mix them up. Let's try that. Leave some space. There's that one. E and up, E and up, E and up. All right, so I hope that you found that helpful. To me, this is this is the most important thing for you to practice if you want to be good at improvising solos. And it's also, to me, like the most fun thing to practice too, right? We're not going to worry so much about notes. Now, of course, it's nice to be able to, change all the notes and all that stuff. And that will come with time when you focus on the rhythm first. If you get those rhythms down first, guys, the notes are a piece of cake afterwards, right? The notes, anybody can learn the notes in about 3 seconds. You can learn the little pentatonic box scale, or you can learn the notes on the string. You can even learn the notes all over the fretboard. If you check out my How to Learn the Notes in the Fretboard in 15 Minutes PDF. But the hard part is putting all this stuff in time. That's the part that makes it musical. So you should be spending most of your time working on your time. Until next time, listen, learn, and jam.